All right. Happy Monday again. So we'll go ahead and jump in since we're a couple minutes late, but we're going to declare a quorum as well. Um, I'm going to start bringing in some announcements here as well. That way, there's a place for things where we're just like sharing info, but it does not necessarily designed for dialogue, for lack of a better way of putting it. So I think they're useful. Number one, out of office, just so yes, we have PTO Ninja. No, this is not intended to be authoritative, but just if you're looking for feedback from folks, I thought this was a nice addition. So Daniel's out till Thursday. This is part of his move. I am out Thursday and Friday this week because of critical mass on the honeydew list that needs attention. So I'm gonna be out doing that and digging up large portions of my yard. So that's what I get to spend the weekend doing. Um, so there's that. Um, this was announced on Friday. Secret detection post processing work starts tomorrow. So we need to get everything that we currently have in flight to a spot where you can set it down today at the end of work today, so that we can go ahead and swarm the work for secret detection post processing, which I think is the most accurate way of describing what we're actually going to deliver. And so that epic is available. Um, Most of the details, in fact, I was airing towards this, all the details for it are in the discovery issue that is a part of the epic itself. So if you're looking for details, go there. And finally, a reminder specifically for those of us that are in the United States, open enrollment. It's important this year. You got 2 weeks to decide what your healthcare coverage is, and you have to sign up in order to continue healthcare coverage in the new year. So that's why I keep harping on it. So you'll see this reminder again here next week as well. Um, and so those are the announcements. Ross, here, sir.
Yeah, so for the mob SF analyzer, there's some specific stuff which it's not just as simple as, hey, you have an Android app, it'll run. Hey, you have an iOS app, it'll run. There's some additional nuances there that we do have encoded in the analyzer itself, as well as in the template, but it's not completely obvious to someone just reading the documentation that there are those limitations. We might have some for some other analyzers too. Maybe like Rails, how we determine if we should run the Rails analyzer. But I was just wondering if there is maybe a better place to call that out in the documentation for someone looking at the docs, as opposed to needing to go read somewhere else that this is or isn't going to run, to get a better idea sooner. Anybody have any thoughts on that? And Thomas, you have a couple.
Well, as far as class, I'd argue spot bugs might fit because it's Java, it's Scala, and it might be one or two other things as well. As far as the documentation, maybe I'll put this in the document. Too many tabs. There. Because there's a list of analyzers that also encapsulates what data they emit and how stable it is. So maybe not analyzer, underlying tool, what data we get out of that, and so forth. So maybe.
Yeah. How would you envision it showing up there? I guess like that table is is a bit ridiculous at this point with all the analyzers and the properties that it supports. So I don't think that would support adding any sort of clarification there.
I I have an idea, maybe. I mean, so on that link that Thomas posted, if you click the MobSF analyzer, maybe adding this to the README on the actual analyzer, and then like maybe putting in notes like in the same section of that SAS analyzers, like, you know, if you're having trouble with MobSF, you know, running on whatever, you know, pretty much just explain like why you might need to reference this additional documentation, but it's at the README, because that README is pretty extensive actually.
The MobSF README for the MobSF analyzer. Yeah. It is, and that was provided to us, but like a lot of our READMEs for analyzers aren't. They don't have a lot of information in them.
Sure.
So, I mean, and that's a valid like suggestion of let's put that stuff in the README and call it out more clearly in the README and point to the README for those that, you know, it's like check out the criteria to run in the README. If you have questions, that kind of thing.
Like another option too, maybe, is to create like a sub page of analyzers so that there's, you know, SAS/analyzer/MobSF, and have, you know, select analyzers have their own kind of documentation page, just because that table is pretty large and there's a lot of information on this page. And like, I mean, we wouldn't want to, like, from your comment, I don't think putting all that information into just the SAS analyzer documentation, that root page that Thomas sent, would look good. Because it seems like that's just, it's kind of analyzer agnostic, and it's just general information about what SAS analyzers provide, not specific, what do specific SAS analyzers provide. So
there's a better documentation. Like, I've got to go find it.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about too.
I'll run into it monthly. I'll go hunting after the fact rather than make you wait while I go find it. So, but I'll hunt.
Okay. Well, I mean, unless anyone else has something to add, I can I'll follow. It sounds like there are improvements that could be made. So maybe,
yeah,
we can do it somewhere.
Yeah,
one way or another. We should make it clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll ask my orthogonal questions. So all of our detection logic, all of our jobs, everything else is analyzer specific. Should we flip this? Are we getting to the point where we need to flip this paradigm so that it's language centric? So within the jobs, and then that invokes specific analyzers after the fact, even if it does duplication, like MobSF would be referenced 4 times, spot bugs would be referenced 2, 3, 4 times, and so forth. Would the duplication increase traceability? And maybe that's a discovery issue unto itself.
I'll just say, from like, I remember when I was first onboarding, to me, I didn't know what spot bugs was. And like, to me, it would have been easier if, like, okay, I have a Java project, what analyzers are going to run for that Java project, rather than having to do kind of a reverse lookup.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that a lot of users are in the same boat where they're like, I have a project in a language, what does it run?
I'll file a discovery issue. This is just a curiosity of mine, and flavors of this curiosity come up about once every 4 months for me. So I'll file an issue to get to the bottom of this once and for all, and then I'll let it go for 8 months. And then I'll forget about it, and then we'll go again. I'm kidding. Hopefully. Okay. I'll move on. Unless there's more, I'll get to I've got the next couple. Okay. Item 3. If it's not an issue, it doesn't exist. It's a strong statement, but it is the mantra or axiom, or pick your appropriate word here. If you get a wordsmith hat on, with the escalation requests that are coming to us through Slack. I have now have an internal kind of clock that if I'm responding to somebody and it takes more than 1 to 2 responses, or if it's taking me more than 10 to 30 minutes to figure out what the answer is, I need an issue and I need them to file it rather than me trying to interpret what they're asking. I am raising that here so that everybody knows what stance I'm taking. If you have, I'm not trying to be brusque or hard-handed or heavy-handed with folks, but if you want to adopt a stance, I'm just letting you know this is what I'm doing. So it's the there were a couple of examples that were coming through last week where it was conversation was staying in Slack, which cannot be a single source of truth for us, and it was involving additional investigation. And so that's what triggered me to want to put it here. Does anybody have any thoughts on this, or questions or commentary, feedback?
I like it.
Okay. While we're on the subject of feedback, the epic that's linked in the announcements above on post-processing for leaked secrets, I would appreciate feedback on how that discovery issue is broken down. So I'm specifically curious about what's the most efficient way to break down the Rails side of the work that we need to do, because there's a lot of little work that's spread across one service and 2 workers and maybe a couple of other places as well. And so I did my initial instincts were to break it down into 6 issues, which, if you can read the chicken scratching behind me, tells you what it was, which had 3 Rails issues. And the more I looked at it, the more I talked myself into 1. So if you've got feedback on how we need to break it down that makes it more efficient, particularly getting it through maintainer review, I would appreciate it. So if you've got real-time feedback, great. If not, we can certainly take it to the epics themselves and break it down in other ways.
My only ask is, yeah, if there's work, please link it into that epic. That is really where I'll be tracking things. Thomas, it looks great. It makes a lot of sense to me. And if I understand it, I think you've succeeded.
Implementation issues are sparse on purpose, by the way. We've discussed everything ad nauseum with on the technical discovery. I did not want to fall into the trap we've experienced before, where we've got conversations spread across 2, 3, 4, 5 issues. So I'm going to be working pretty hard to keep commentary either on the discovery issue until it closes, and once it closes, put it on the epic. Otherwise, the implementation issues should be strictly about realizing the work that we need to do. And so that's the area that I'm going to be watching on those, just to put my cards on the table. Okay, feedback appreciated. So if you have it, I'd very much like to hear it. Sakat, you've got next.
Hi, so for the MobSF work, so we added the MobSF related changes to SAS template. So now we can enable a feature flag, actually experimental feature, to run it. But there's one thing we need to provide, that is MobSF API key. Otherwise, MobSF will fail to run. We need to document this, or somehow we need to pass that API key to our analyzer. There are 2, somehow we need to pass that. So for now, we can just document it. Like we need to, you need to, in your GitLab CI YAML file, you need to mention the API key as a variable.
So my only question here is, if we're manifesting the mobsf container, I guess is how I put it, like, don't we know the key and can't we automatically apply that? It seems kind of like a strange thing to have someone interact with.
Yes, we can. For now, we can specify the API key in the SAS template, but it's not secure enough to, somehow we need to pass the API key secretly to the analyzer. So we know the key, but it's not safe to save that key to SAS template. I need to investigate why we need that key. It's calling an API, and the key is very trivial. Like it's not a complex secret. It's very trivial. I don't know why. I need to investigate, but somehow we need to pass that to the analyzer. That is the best solution. Otherwise, for now, the temporary solution is that we need to specify the API key in our GitLab CI YAML file.
I will say, I think we should be really careful about this. I think protected variables comes to mind as a potential solution, but let's play this out for a second, that through logs, through some other way, people sharing CI files, they don't realize the sensitivity of that. I assume you could take that API key and anybody who has it would then effectively have access to your source code. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, so
yeah, let's just, this I think is very sensitive. I think we need to make sure we get it right. So I just wanted to voice that here.
Yeah.
Am I hearing that this is one API key that's global across all projects, all customers, all groups? There's no way to make it unique?
Yeah, we need to see that. Like, we need to investigate that. I just noticed that just before this meeting, I didn't get enough time to see, but looks like the key is very trivial, like the way it is written. I mean, I need to investigate why this is used, how this is used, and how can we rotate this key in mobsf. I don't have enough information about that. Ross, do you know anything about this key? I just noticed that just before this.
I don't have anything to add beyond what's already been said, and I'm trying to think, just on the fly, trying to think of how that could be exploited, and I don't have any answers either.
Scott, could you like link in the analyzer where the key is being used?
Yeah.
Sure. I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah.
The other idea that comes into mind is that if this is truly global, a masked environment variable on the mobsf project's build pipeline itself that is then compiled into the Go executables might be our best option here.
Yeah.
And I say that while staring at Zach to see how much he's cringing at this idea. So,
yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's kind of what I was thinking as well.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, that's kind of the solution that's coming to me.
The funny thing is, like, so if you look into the key value, this is the value of the key is very trivial. Like, it's not a password or something. It's very obvious. Like, why it is so obvious?
if you're going to tell me it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm
Something
going,
like that. I don't want to say here, but something like that. Yeah.
okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right.
So that, yeah, I need to see why, how can we rotate that? We need to rotate that somehow.
Okay.
Okay.
So, never mind. Good,
Yeah.
good.
All right. Conversation to continue asynchronous. It sounds like at a minimum, Sikhat, I'll have to ask you for an issue because it needs to exist. And so we can move our commentary there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is me next. So I put these in Slack, a few things. The release post preview is here. Of course, it'll be published on the 22nd. Please take a look at that. Let me know if you see any inaccuracies or anything that's wrong with it. This is a big release for us, y'all. It's got 2 of the most requested features from customers, mobile support, as well as our custom rule sets. So thrilled with the team. We're, of course, in the headline of the release post. This is a giant release for SAST. I'm thrilled. I've gotten customers who are already reaching out about these features. I'm a little scared of sales finding out about them and overwhelming us. So do know that I think that with these features coming out, we will see an increase of questions and interaction between the sales team and account team. Again, always feel free to point them towards me. Don't feel like you have to step into any of those questions. But yeah, definitely check out the release post. Let me know if there's anything askew. Also, unfortunately, our friendly customer who is the MVP of this release did pull their blog post where they detailed the implementation journey they went through with their analyzer. So I've had to backfill a blog post. I've made it very generic about integrating and extending via community contributions to GitLab Secure. Take a look at the blog post. Let me know if you have thoughts, feedback, ideas. I don't love it at the moment. It does point to a variety of different open source contributions we've had. So let me know if there's a significant one that I missed. But overall, would love feedback there. But again, really thrilled about this release. We've accomplished so much. And I think even when you just look back the 9 months that I've been here, like we have covered so much ground. Super proud of this team. Amazing work, everybody.
I'll write it. There is another significant one that's worth calling out. That was a community contribution. .NET framework support. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can point me at the community MR, I'll get that added in.
Yeah, I'll go hunting. I know where to go look.
Cool.
That's the big one that comes to mind. All right. Anything else? Any demos? Then, lady and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and attention. Happy release week. Let's wrap up today, get everything to a place where we can set everything down, and let's turn our attention to secret detection post-processing starting tomorrow. So thank you very much. We'll talk soon. See ya.